Hey everybody, it's me, Margaret, and I'm sitting outside on a gorgeous day here. The date is December 27th, and I can't believe how fast this year went by. It was going really slow around March, but fortunately things picked up. I say that every year though, don't I? I feel like the time is just flying. I guess the older I get, the more quickly it flies. But that brings me to the next topic, which I'm usually about a month behind in this, but I've been thinking ahead. What are your plans for 2021? What are your crafty goals? Yeah, we need to also think of general goals about our whole life, right? How can we make a better version of ourselves? But specifically, what are your goals related to crafting? Now, I happen to have noticed that there are some people who are trying to sell their handmade goods for the first time this year. And that brings me to the sponsor of today's video, which happens to be SkillShare. I'm going to share my screen with you at this moment just so you can see that I put in the words marketing handmade. And up comes all kinds of classes that can help you to get this started. I wish it was as simple as merely making a lovely product, putting it on Etsy, and boom, it gets noticed and sold. But it's not that easy. And here we have all kinds of classes that can help you find the venue that would best serve you, and then what to do about it, and how to help your product get discovered. So I think it's awesome. Again, tons of resources here that can help you start your handmade business. There's a link in the description box below, and the first 1,000 people to click that link can get a free trial of SkillShare Premium. So look for that. Take advantage of it. Now, I have been known to research topics to death, but it does stand to reason that if you're going to go out on a new venture, you need to know as much about it as you can so you can set yourself up for success. So I wish you the best if that's something on your crafty goal list. Now for me, I happen to look back on some of my crafty goal videos from previous years, and I have to say that last year I did a really good job, surprisingly so. And that was to use up a lot of my stash, and I really did. Now I will say that last year is also the time that I have produced the least amount of finished products. I'm sure the reason has to do with our move here that ate up so much of my time in packing and getting ready, and then once we get here we have to set up, and then there's the issue of finding new doctors and vets and all the things that you do when you move to a new location. I've also had the luxury of moving into an area that is very active. Now granted, I can't do a lot of the things that my new neighborhood has to offer because everything's shut down because of the virus, but I have found some new friends to do things with. We ride bikes, we play pickleball, we do things that are outdoors that are as safe as can possibly be. That is taking up some more of my time. But it's okay, I like it. But this year's crafty goals for me, I would like to do some more tutorials. I was a teacher once upon a time, and I forget how much I miss teaching, and I'm usually always teaching something in some form or fashion, whether it's Sunday school or talking about health and wellness to different groups. I did that for years and whatever, but I have none of that now. And I thought to myself the other day, oh, that's a tutorial that I ought to do. Ooh, that's a tutorial I ought to do. And then I never do it because I get sidetracked with other things. So what I'm doing is making a list of some tutorials that I've even mentioned in the past, like my lemon peel hat. I really would like to do that hat. Some other things that I've mentioned but I haven't followed through on. So that is going to be my main crafty goal for this year. And of course, I need to finish setting up my craft room. It's not decorated. It's such an awkward shaped room. It's a wonderful room, don't get me wrong, but it's such an awkwardly shaped room that I'm having a hard time picturing what I want the finished product to look like, if you know what I'm talking about. So I'll get there eventually, but that will be a focus for my crafting goals this year. Get that squared away. I hope the background noise of the golf carts are not bothering you. We do live on a golf course and they keep zooming by. That's one tee box right there, and then we have another one right there, another one right there, depending on the level of golfers, another one right there, and then yet another one right over there. So on a day like today where there's not a cloud in the sky, it's absolutely beautiful. Those carts are flying past at as fast as they can come. It's also so funny how voices carry in this open space. I sometimes feel like I'm eavesdropping on private conversations because they may be right down there at the tee box, which is a good way away, and yet I can actually hear everything they're saying, which also stands to reason they could probably hear everything that I'm saying. Which may not be of interest to golfers, right? Remember when I showed you these little embroidery machine appliques? They're pockets that could be put on the front of a little shirt or a dress, or in my case, I want to make a little advent calendar out of them. But I didn't have enough Christmassy fabric scraps. So I popped over here to Etsy and I found a quilt shop called Serendipity Woods. They do have a real website, but this is their Etsy store. And on here, I noticed that they had scrappy bundles, pre-cuts and scrappy bundles. I bought one of these Christmassy scrappy bundles. And here it is in all its glory. I haven't opened it up because I wanted you to see how pretty this little bundle was. I bought the 40 bundle. You can get a 30 count bundle, but I got 40 of them. And at first I thought maybe there were some repeats in here. For example, this one right here looked a lot like this one right here, but you can kind of shove it up like that and you can see it's completely different. It's just that the colors match so well. So I'm really, really pleased with it. And I love what it says down here. 9 by 10 bits of happy scrappy bursts of creative sunshine, or we mean fabulous fabrics for cutting up and sewing back together. And that's exactly what sewing is. Bits to cut up and sew back together. But isn't this fun? I'm going to leave the name of this shop down in the description box below. So I do have a finished project to show, and that is this basic knit hat. I think I showed it to you before when I was still working on it. I absolutely love the way it came out. The yarn itself is this kind of a mottled color, and I love it. It's so soft. It's a Payton's acrylic. It's a sport yarn. I think it was a baby yarn is what it called itself, but you know, baby yarn is just a softer version of any yarn. But this came out great. Basically what it is 7 knits and 1 purl, which is how I got the ribbing on there, and then a 2x2 rib for around the edges. And I really thought my oldest was going to like this. He said, he told me that he wanted a hat, and I was working on this one at the time. And when he came home, I presented it to him and thought this is the one that he would like, but that's not what he chose. He went rooting around in my giveaway pile, and he ended up choosing a scrap hat. I was just sitting outside saying that I really thought you would like this hat, and I was really wrong, because this is not the one you chose. This is the one that he chose, and this happens to be, and I don't even know if I told you this or not, it's a scrap hat. Oh, this is Tyler, by the way. I don't know if you've ever met my oldest. This was a scrap hat made of just plain acrylic and what I had that was left over, and this is the one that he chose. Why? Why do you like it better than this one, just out of curiosity?
Well, I like the colors better.
This is gray.
Yeah, but you know, this has a little bit more variety. I don't have much variety in my wardrobe, but navy and 2 tones of gray is up my alley.
That is true. He's exactly like his dad, and unlike his little brother, who wears the loudest, most silly clothes that you could choose. That's how he is. But it's thicker.
You also like that it was thicker than that one. Honestly, I wanted it partially to use as like a bandana to cover my eyes when I want to take a nap during the day, and it extended below on my face and blocked out more light.
No intention of wearing this in public?
No, but just because I'm not really a beanie guy. Nothing bad about the hat.
All right. So he chose the scrap hat to sleep in, and now we live happily ever after. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. So the whole reason that I had to ask him was because it's very important. It proves my point about when you're doing charity hats. There are people who like different things, so be sure, oh, there's a bug. So be sure to create a variety of things, not just the styles that you like, but things that could appeal to anybody. Now, speaking of that Payton's baby yarn, this is Beehive Baby Sport. The Payton's, and again, this is 70% acrylic and 30% nylon, which I told you wrong. That other yarn that I was using is the same as that. That nylon not only helps it wear well, but it just gives it a little extra softness, and I really like that. But I'm using this right now on this hat. I don't think you can actually see the wonderful patterning that it's supposed to make at this point. Can't tell, covering up my face so it'll focus better, but this is actually called a seersucker stitch. And what I like to do is use my chart, which I've shared with you in the past, and I'll put a link down below. Just kind of pick a size, cast on that amount for this type of yarn, and then kind of create my own hat. And the way I get ideas is by looking online at different types of stitches. So I know that every hat is going to start with some kind of ribbing, and in this case I did a 1x1 rib, and then I implemented this seersucker stitch. And I'm liking it so far. It's turning out just as I had imagined. And I'm sure there's probably somebody smarter than me somewhere along the lines that has already created something like this. But in my mind, it's my own creation. And speaking of that, I uploaded a video recently called The Simple Start for Crochet. It's one way to begin every crochet project, whether you're working flat or whether you're working in the round. And I honestly thought I invented that. And someone had said to me, no, I've been doing this for 40 years. My mother taught me. In all fairness, though, that's the only person that I've ever heard of that heard of doing this method. But for me, it works really well because I can never remember magic loop. So I'll link that below in case you missed it, because it's just simple. But anyway, like I'm saying, there's probably somebody smarter than me that has developed something similar to this. But if I like it, when I finish it, I'll probably attempt my first knitting tutorial, other than a few of the guided type knitting projects that I have shown you before, where I just kind of give you the highlights on how to do something. But let's wait and see. Let's wait and see how this turns out. I'll be the guinea pig, and we'll go from there. We had an incredible stretch of weather, so I've been spending a lot of time outside, and this is one of those reasons I was talking about earlier that keeps me from completing more craft projects. Tucker and I love our bikes, and on this particular day we were riding together, but a lot of times we take separate rides because we have different workout goals. Now, when Tyler got home, we borrowed our friends' bikes one day, and the boys went out for a ride with us. Now, both Tyler and Thomas put in some serious miles on their bikes, but they held back for poor old Mom and Dad, and I'm glad we took advantage of this weather, because this is what it's facing us now. We've got storms, thunderstorms, 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 and then we have 80% chance of a frozen mix. Not fun.
But this guy,
I'm at my neighbor's house, and look at her scrap yarn blanket.
Not before Christmas.
Isn't that
And
cute?
this guy is just his nose.
Tucker insists on buying these chocolate-covered almonds from Costco, and I love them. So he literally hides them from me, but I always find them. He can eat 5, I eat 40. So I have a solution. These are lilies, and they're low-carb, sweet treats. And you can see over here on the sugars that there's less than 1 gram in there, so that's really good. They're sweetened with that erythritol, however you pronounce it, same as Swerve. And what I'll do is get a few almonds and then put a few of these in my mouth at the same time, and I have chocolate-covered almonds that are not full of sugar. I'm about to freeze some milk in 1/2 cup increments. These are silicone ice molds that are actually made to go for drinks, you know, like bourbon or scotch on the rocks. It's just one big ice cube, melts slower. I'm using it today to put this milk. We don't drink much milk, and we used it for a recipe, and you know, on occasion this comes about. So what I'm going to do is freeze it in these 1/2 cup increments for future use. And while we're on the subject of freezing things, I also do this with fresh lemon juice. I use ice trays, the old-fashioned ice trays, and this is decaf coffee so that I could make mocha frappuccinos. Remember, I had a secret about Knit Crate that I was going to tell you, and because I couldn't tell you. Well, I still can't tell you until I get them, I make contact with them and find out exactly when I can say what. And then I'll let you know. You'll be the first people that I'll tell this to. But January knit crate is going to be special to me, so that's just a heads up. But anyhow, that's all I've got for you now. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk soon. Bye.